All right. And welcome to the show, guys. I mean, here we are, episode 6, and it's the season finale. And to be honest with you, like I said before, I was expecting this episode to be the other episode where we wind up finding out what happened after he gets shot. Instead, they wind up showing us now that Arthur is actually standing over Stephen's body, and then, of course, he winds up seeing that part. Then we wind up seeing that part. But I do love how this plays into this episode a lot, where we think that he's dead. Even Layla thinks he's dead. And then, of course, we also see the dead corpses talking to her as well. And I'm like, last night I was watching it. I was like half asleep. I was like, what the heck is going on? I said, I have to go ahead and do this tomorrow because there's no way I'm going to be able to comprehend this. But it's actually Torrit that's actually talking to her.
Right.
And I thought that was actually really cool. So what did you guys think?
Well, I was pretty sad when you realize that, at that time that Mark's dead, that he shot him. He's really dead. But then if we move forward to Layla's following, or with the caravan, with Arthur, and the body's talking to him. At first, when she walks by, I'm like, I think that dead person said something to her, but I'm not sure. Until the second one starts talking to her because she wants to go and kill him. Like she, obviously you killed her husband. Mm-hmm. And so at that point when the dead bodies are talking to her and telling her basically, don't do it. Mark's telling you not to do it. Pretty interesting. Hoping that Mark would come back alive, but at that point he's dead. So I'm thinking, is she going to work with Khonshu?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah. First off, I love Layla. I know I keep saying that, but she's the MVP of this show. I love her so much. She's such a gangster. She was willing to just walk up on Haro and shank him. See if this works. Killed my man that I had a lot of disagreements with, but that's still my man. So she was great. I was excited to see her interacting with Torrit.
Yeah,
Torrit. Someone, I can't do words. It was fun seeing them interact with each other, and I was really excited. I was kind of hoping, I was like, oh, please tell me that she'll become her avatar, which we'll get into later. But What I especially loved about the beginning is how Mark is showing Mark in the field of reeds.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, well, you have your piece now. And he's like, but what about Stephen? Well, he's with the Druid, so he's not getting no peace. And Mark, I loved it. It was just like Mark. It was just like, nope, that's the homie. I'm gonna go get him.
Right.
And runs back, basically sacrificing himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like such a not just a
lovely moment.
But not just a bromantic moment, but it was like a great metaphor for self-love because Stephen is him. Right. And I was just like, oh, wow, that's love yourself to the point where like, no, I'm not going to leave a part of myself to suffer because if that part of me is suffering, then I'm suffering too. So he goes back and I was like, oh, self-love, strong men showing their vulnerability, allowing themselves to be vulnerable and weak and show their love and compassion for each other. It's just beautiful storytelling. I loved it.
Most definitely, man. The part where he goes, well, I'm not okay with that. And then goes back over to do it. And then you see his hand holding Mark's hand, Stephen's hand. And my heart melted on that part, to be honest. And I'm a guy. But also, too, you see this bit. Now, here's the thing. You wind up seeing this door there. It opens up after, of course, he winds up becoming unstoned. And they both walk through the door. Now, my theory is this. So in order for the personalities to work together, they both have to be alive, right? Mm. We also saw the sarcophagus, right? Because of the fact I think that Mark and I think that Stephen was blocking that other one from coming in. So I'm thinking with them both dying, that allowed Jake to come through that gate with them without even knowing the fact that they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so now it's the three personalities at the end of it where we wind up seeing that. But I just want to get to that in case we don't get to that part tonight with my theory. So I just want to jump that over there. Okay. Also, too, I also like this. This is actually a beautiful moment whenever he wakes up. I'm like, oh, it's on now. It's on. And then you have Layla, who, like Alex says, too, she wants to shank Arthur Sorrow and everything, too. And, you know, I like how Tawit just goes, you cannot do that. And he goes,
you can't just shank him. He's a sorcerer.
Right. He goes, look, you need to go back over to where all the other gods were at. And you have to get Khonshu.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I was right about that. I predicted that part. Then, of course, I did not predict Tawit becoming the avatar for Layla. But, man, that was such badass whenever I saw that.
I screamed.
Yeah. But what do you think? Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was saying when she goes back to where all the gods are, I love when, obviously, you know, she turns into Talbot, whatever. I don't want to F the name up. But, and her mentioning to Layla, you know, wait till you see my costume. I just thought that was funny because, you know, the whole costume thing and, you know, all that. But when the Amit, when we see Amit for the first time, like for real, that was the coolest thing, dude. The graphics on her was absolutely great. The tail moving, like just the best graphics. So I just want to mention that they did a really good job on the Avatar's graphics.
They definitely did. They paid very close attention to detail. As a matter of fact, that was what I was going to ask you. What did you think of seeing that first appearance of her? And I was goosebumps and chills just knowing that big, huge alligator standing over me.
Right.
And this is who basically you wind up seeing, you know, that the main antagonist is Avatar and how scary that Avatar is.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When you see Arthur's, I'm like, this is the person that you worship? I'd much rather have Khonshu now. He's so
kind of scary.
I just like the fact that they allowed that to happen because, you know, in most movies or whatnot, when the bad person's trying to, you know, bring someone back from the dead, the whole movie they're trying to do it, and finally the hero comes in and woo, we saved it. You know, like it didn't happen. But I love how in Moon Knight it did happen. Everything that Arthur said that he was going to do, he found the body. He did it. So we got to see Amit come to life, and that was really cool because I thought that maybe that wouldn't happen. That maybe, you know, Khonshu and, you know, Mark and Layla, they'll save the day. And, you know, she almost was going to be brought back to life, but it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I love that it did happen. You got to see that God, because I've been waiting the whole season to see, hoping that we will be able to see that God come to life. And what a great job they did. Very intimidating.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I thought she looked fantastic. She was so cool looking. I really appreciated that they just let her be a giant crocodile woman thing instead of like I thought her essence was just going to take over Haro.
Right. Yeah.
Like it was just, you know, not going to use a lot of CGI, but they're like, no. I appreciate it. It was like, no, here we're giving you a giant crocodile queen. Like embrace it and enjoy it. And I loved that. I was so excited. And then when finally my hippo queen, that's just what I'm going to call her, my hippo queen bonded with Layla, I was excited. I was like, cool, they're going to be an awesome pair. But I was disappointed because I wanted like a hippo suit.
Yeah,
be like this. Right. I wanted Layla to be like this whole.
You wanted like the armor hippo. To be like a hippo, like an embodiment of the hippo.
Yeah, I was like, that would make sense because this is the hippo goddess. Right. And it was just like, oh, she's a golden bird for some reason. I don't know what that has to do with hippos, but okay.
I don't either, but cool. She looked sexy though, and
yes,
definitely. Just the fact of her kicking so much booty in this series, that was sexy enough for me.
Yes,
and
me too.
They put it on. Then they gave her a superhero outfit, and that just catapulted her.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yes. And also, too, I mean, even whenever you see the souls being sucked up, the judgments of everything, and like, are we actually going to make it out of this thing alive?
Right.
There was actually a main threat. I mean, I didn't feel like any of the characters were actually safe, even though we have main characters and stuff like that. But then you also have to look at the big, huge action pieces between Khonshu and the other god fighting against each other. And then you also have the ground god, not the ground god, but basically you wind up having the ground fight with Steven, and then you also have the fight also too between pretty much Steven and Mark tag teaming against Arthur, which I thought was actually pretty funny. But I also like how he decided where basically Steven winds up talking to Khonshu and he goes, "So how are we going to do this?" Because really, you're going to talk to me now and try to negotiate with me whenever there's about to be a war. I love the little bits of comedy in this last episode.
Absolutely. The fight scenes were amazing. Like you'd mentioned. I like that how Steven's suit is Steven's suit. But Steven was such a badass. Like that confidence that he had once they walked through those doors, you know, the big gates and walked through, you got a different Steven. Like just I guess maybe the fact that he and Mark are kind of on the same page, you know, and that third personality that you guys were talking about last week, I finally got to hear the voice. I was listening for that Bronx that you mentioned, John. And when I caught it, I paused it and rewound it to hear it again. I'm like, that's okay. So that's the guy that's when they were fighting that does the most damage, because Mark didn't remember and Steven didn't know. So I'm like, that's what the guys were talking about. It's the Jake character. But anyways, yeah, the fight sequence was absolutely awesome. It was really good. A lot of comedy in there too.
I loved how Jake, Mark and Steven were switching back and forth and just how seamless it was. And I thought I was super hyped for Steven being able to fight even though it was kind of all of a sudden, I'm just like, no, he has muscle memory from Mark. It's fine. I'll accept it because he was cool. He was whooping booty. He had the
he was
nightsticks.
You finally got your brawler, dude. You finally got your
He gets thrown off screen and then he'll come back as Moon Knight doing Batman stuff. And that was so awesome. And then when him and Layla are teaming up on Haro, I was just like, power couple. I'm here for it. They still have a lot of couples therapy that they need to do, but I'm here for it. And then finally, when Haro's like killing them, and then you just see Mark like black out, and all of a sudden everyone's dead.
Yeah.
I freaked out. I'm like, oh dear God, what just happened, and how did we miss it?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh, go on ahead, Rossie.
No, I agree, because when he blacks out as he's losing, and you see that Khonshu's losing the fight with Amit, and she's got Khonshu down, and then they pan back to Mark, and when Arthur, you know, put the cane, and you know, I figured it was over with. Like Khonshu's gonna die, they're not gonna last, and then he wakes up, and I'm thinking the same thing. Everyone's dead. So that's when I'm like, okay, that violent third personality, that's what it has to be, because Mark was like, Steven, was that you? And did you do that? And there is a third personality there, the violent one.
Yeah,
kill them all. And do you think?
That's actually the third personality. There's no way around it, especially when none of them didn't know what was going on. But also, too, I'm going to go on ahead and talk about this, though, too. I like how you have a moment where Mark was about to kill Arthur, and then he winds up not killing him, and that's like a little bit of a redemption for Mark. And so, therefore, you know, basically that winds up winding that part down. But also, too, there's also the insane asylum thing for Arthur this time, which is his punishment for doing what he was doing to Steven and Mark. But this is the thing that one of my friends said, I didn't get that. I said, okay, so let me break this down to you. Basically, Arthur went into Steven and Mark's subconsciousness to put something there that wasn't there to begin with, to make him look like that he was crazy when he's not. So what do? They do the same thing to Arthur and everything, and it also exposes his weakness, which was the glass in the shoe that you mentioned on the first episode, Alex. You're like, how does he not realize that his foot is bleeding or anything like that?
Why isn't his foot bleeding? That's what me and my wife kept saying. It was like, he's walking on level, like, shouldn't there be blood on his foot? And then there was finally blood on his footprints. And we were like, yes.
And then Steven and Mark are like, you see that? He goes, yeah, I see that. And it's like as if the audience is also saying, yes, we see that too.
It's about time.
Right.
Just now bleeding.
But now he's got a reality check now of everything Arthur does. And now he's stuck in that subconscious state in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then you wind up seeing the other scene that we actually get at the end credits scene, where we wind up seeing Khonshu in the back of the car. Then we have Jake who's big. Yes. And Jake is big. Yes. Sorry. And this is the thing though. Okay. Jake is not speaking in a New York accent. He's speaking Spanish. So my friend goes, I thought he was supposed to be a New York cab driver. What's the deal? I said, maybe when Arthur went and shot him, he damaged something within that part of that memory of that brain to where now he's speaking Spanish rather than him speaking in a New York accent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What did you think about that?
I was just like, oh dang, Oscar Isaac's just gotten even more sexy. Like, come on, I'm straight and you already had me, dude. Now he's speaking in different languages. It's just too yummy. Too yummy. So that's the only thing I was upset about, is too much sexiness. But I thought when Jake Lockley was officially introduced, at first I thought it was Bushman that was coming to get Haro, just, for some reason, the guy who set up Layla's dad.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I thought it was. It was like, oh, he learned about Mark Spector still being alive, so he's coming to finish the job maybe, or that's who I thought it was. But then when he got thrown into the limousine, then you see Khonshu with the epic white suit.
That was awesome suit.
And I'm like, uh-oh, it's not going to look good in a second. Straight up mafia assassin.
There's like another season. Like, are they setting us up for? Because I know it's a limited series, but are you setting us up for another season? Because, like you said, with the, this is it.
They didn't confirm another season or anything like that. As a matter of fact, the director of Moon Knight went on social media just recently. As a matter of fact, IGN just reported this before we went on the show, but he said, I want another season, is what he said. Because we need another season to do what I want to do. And I'm hoping that they give it to him.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Because it's definitely set up for another season.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that I heard that Oscar Isaac only signed. He only signed a contract just do this season.
Okay.
So maybe I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but that's what I've heard through
the
grapevines. Oh, that is true. Cool.
Okay.
So he just signed on for this season. So I think just to see how it went, but I think after this performance and how popular, at least to me, it's super popular. I say pay the man whatever he wants. He played 3 roles.
Right. I'll be exhausted by the time I get home. I better be honest with you. If I had to do three different characters, I'm like, look, honey, look, can you do the dishes tonight? I just got done talking to myself and 3 different characters. I'm wore out from all 3 of myselves. But also, too, another thing I want to mention is this. One of my friends also asked me this. He's like, how is that even possible when we have Mark and also Steven that declined Khonshu? I said, did you ever think maybe they blacked out again? And then Khonshu made the deal with Jake. So therefore now they're back in the seat again because of Jake.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, and then all of a sudden he did like that mind-blowing emoji thing with me after that. But I explained it to him to a T. He goes, okay, after talking to you, this actually does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like everything has to do with the subconscious mind. So you have to think on that level of the subconsciousness of something with the show rather than the reality of everything.
Yeah.
So, but all in all, I enjoyed this season a lot. I really love the action sequences, the comedy. Oscar Isaac is hands down one of my favorite actors in the MCU. Right. I didn't really care for him as Apocalypse, but and I like him as an actor. I just didn't like him as Apocalypse that much. But with this, I loved him. Right. I absolutely loved him in this role.
Yeah.
he owned these roles that he has. It's not roles, roles. Yes, he's the Moon Knight, the Moon Knight. And
I hope he gets some nominations thrown his way or something. That was
not easy.
No, those performances were just so different, and how he's able to connect them all to each other. It was just in terms of acting, it was beautifully done.
Right. Yeah, same here. I mean, for my first Marvel series, this was an awesome one to watch. I loved it from episode 1 to episode 6. I wanted the last episode to be longer. I didn't want it to go off. Yeah. I just really enjoyed this series and Moon Knight, and thanks guys. This was a really great series, just absolutely great. I really enjoyed it, and Oscar Isaac made it great because he's a great actor, and as an actress looking at him, it's like to be at his level to play those 3 parts so flawlessly. And Layla, you know, when she when she did the part where she was in the tomb and she was playing the part of the your hippo queen, and going back to her part, even that little bit to me was, as an actress, that was great because she was right on, just switching back and forth. So great series. They did a great job.
Most definitely. And I just want to say thank you to the director who actually gave us a great cinematic universe with Egypt. Because if you look at, here's the thing, this is the main problem I had with Wonder Woman 1984 and a lot of other films. There's a lot more to Egypt than just damn desert. Show us
and pyramids. There's actually cities there.
Right. And this time we actually get an atmospheric background of what Egypt is. And it's more than just pyramids and desert. And he was, you can tell that he was very passionate about showing us that. So that's something else that I really liked about about him showing us that, because I felt like I was actually on a tour guide with him showing us these cities. But you know, this show is fantastic. It's perfectly well executed with everything they've done. Even if people hate on it, you're hating on it for the wrong reasons. You need to go back and binge watch all 6 episodes, and then you'll realize what you have. You know? But it's a very deep show. It's like, and stuff like that. It hits you on all levels. I never had a show where I would be crying 1 minute, laughing 1 minute, being pissed off at a character another minute. And it's just fantastic writing, the direction. I think there was something else I wanted to talk about though too. I just can't remember on hand. But what about you guys? Is there any other things that you would like to say about the show? As far as the director or anything like that goes?
I do have to say that I loved. There is one scene, going back to Layla, the fact that you have this badass, you know, woman in this film or this series. There is a part where she's fighting Arthur, and she's trying to push that truck with the people in it, the van. And there's a scene where the little girl looks at her and says, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" And she's like, yes, and goes back to fighting. That scene there, to me, I really love, because little girls, you know, seeing a woman like that, that's kicking ass. And I know you have a lot of women in the Marvel universe, but this particular, because it's in Egypt, and you don't see a lot of, you know, the Marvel films in Egypt. And so to see those people and just that little that interaction with the little girl and how big her eyes got, it was cool.
It's about representation of who they can relate to.
Love that.
Me too.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah.
That almost made me tear up.
Right.
She is an Egyptian super. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. I love that. Right. I loved that part. My only gripe with this show is I wanted it to be longer.
Yes.
I was talking to my wife about it, where she was just like, I wish it wasn't doing that BS 6 episode stretch. Like, I want like at least 8 to 10. I feel like that's like 8 to 10. That's like the sweet spot for shows. Like, yeah, I could have used a lot more.
Same here, dude.
And
Same
they could have stretched it out. They had enough material where they could have stretched it out to, you know, at least 8 episodes, you know, because there's so much more that could have been put in there. You know what I mean? Maybe more about the third personality You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's one more thing I want to talk about though too. One of my friends says, "So how does this link up with anything?" I said, "This actually has a possibility of linking up with the Eternals more than anything, because you have the gods on and stuff like that with Egypt, and you also have the gods of the Eternals, and also too, this is also I believe will be linked up with Blade as well. I wouldn't be surprised. So
lead to the Midnight Suns."
But all in all, this is a great show. I can't wait to see what else they have for us. As a matter of fact, my top show was at one time Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This ended up this show made it number one. This show is now number one on my list. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is number two now because of the show.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier too. That one made me cry heavy tears.
Me too.
With this one, what the last thing before we get off it, what I really appreciate about this show is like a lot of people were expecting this to be very violent because Moon Knight he's a more brutal character, but I like how it just kind of flips that expectation, like, oh, it's going to be violent but emotionally violent. So we got a lot more emotional damage done to us, like, especially going into Mark's past with the abusive mother. I'm like, oh, we wanted dark and violent, but not this kind of dark and violent. But I actually liked that take. I feel like that's more kind of more painful, more brings up more conflict for characters than any kind of physical pain, because anyone can sleep off a broken bone or something, but like emotional trauma, that's much harder. It stays with you. Yeah, and it's easier to relate to the characters because like it doesn't show them as these unstoppable beings. Like Moon Knight is definitely not this unstoppable superhero. He's someone who had dealt with a lot of messed up things in his life, and it's just like we're on the same level, dude. It's easier to connect with them that way.
Same here. So I think that's gonna do it and everything. Anything else that you guys want to say or anything like that? Okay. So Hippo Queen. Layla is a beast and she's hot. Okay, I'm done. But anyways, so what I just want to say, thank you guys. This has been a blast just talking about this show and everything. And I'm just glad that I was able to introduce Rossie to this show for her first MCU experience, which you need to go and watch the very first Doctor Strange movie and then watch Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because it'll open your eyes. Yeah.
I'm seeing it tonight.
Absolutely. Oh, that's right. You are.
I'm seeing it Tuesday. I was supposed to do it Saturday, but some things came up. So that's how life is. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for our show for tonight. But I hope that you guys enjoyed our Moon Knight reviews. Go ahead and check those out.